An idea of what's going to happen with James Harden. It's been up in the air for like ever since the end of the season. Ever since James Harden went to the press conference and was pretty much evasive about his future. Back then, Doc Rivers was still the coach, right? So we thought that his future would be linked to the one of Doc Rivers, which ended up being fired. But now, ever since the Sixers, they hired Nick Nurse and that the Phoenix Suns went and got Bradley Beal, it felt like, okay, James Harden was actually going to stay and try to run it back. But it turns out that the Sixers weren't having it this way. Because according to reports from Shams, James Harden is opting into his $35.6 million player option with the 76ers, and the sides, meaning both sides, will work together to explore a trade out of Philadelphia. Meaning that the 76ers just was like, James Harden, we are not trying to give you the money that you're looking for. James Harden probably went to them and said, y'all remember last season when I took a $15 million a year pay cut for you guys to actually build up a roster that would help me compete for a championship? I want all that money back. Plus, I want longevity and security. So I don't know how much he was eligible for, but I want all of it. All of it. He made All NBA too, I believe. So he probably went out there and said, I need 5 years, whatever type of hundreds of millions that he could get. And the 76ers were like, James Harden, you are 34. You are very inconsistent. On one night, you look like a top 10 to top 5 player in the league. And on the other, you look like you don't belong in the top 100. We're not trying to commit to you 5 years, 4 years. Hell no. That's what the 76ers told to James Harden. So if you want to get your money, we advise that you go out there, you take these 36 millions who are guaranteed, you go to whatever team you end up with, and you try and build up your value. You should. If I'm James Harden, and if it's all about the money at this point, I'm trying to get traded to a bum team when I will have the ball in my head and I can just go out there and put up numbers to the best of my capacity. And then I can show the world that, okay, I'm still worth $30 million a year. Because right now, man, I'm sorry. If I'm trying to win the championship, I'm just not giving Harden all that money. I'm just not. You look at his numbers, he's averaging 20 and 10, which is still very good, led the league in assists. But if you actually watch James Harden, the way he's struggling to get past his defender, the way he's struggling to get his shot off in the playoff, the way he cannot finish out to bring him in the playoffs, and don't even get me started on his defense. So he's pretty much relying. For him to go crazy, he has to make like 5 or 6 step-back threes, which is very tough in that he doesn't have the lift that he once had to actually create the space and get the shot over the defense and still make it at a pretty consistent clip. So, no. If I'm trying to win the championship, I know. And at this point, like, for example, Joel Embiid at this point, if people consider him a playoff choker, I wouldn't argue it. But he's still like 28, so he has time to kind of shift that narrative. James Harden, man, it's over. It's over. Like, at this point, you are what you are. You've been a superstar / star player for 10 years now. And every time we need you the most, you just come up short. And Darren Morey, being one of the biggest James Harden's fan on this earth, I'm sure, for him to actually pretty much think with his head and not his heart, I commend him, because I definitely thought that the ball was just in James Harden's camp and that he would decide of his future. Now we got to talk about the potential trade destinations. If I'm the 76ers, the obvious target is Damian Lillard, but I just don't know if the Blazers do that, especially if Damian Lillard does not request a trade. So if I'm Joel Embiid, I do not care. I am calling Damian's phone and I am trying to pitch this whole thing. I'm like, hey, you request a trade and you say you want to go to Philly, or you're not. You do what you got to do to force your way out of there. I just don't see them doing that. But if I'm Joel Embiid, that's what I'm doing, because that duo would be insane. And when I look at the other names of the superstars players that are just available, I just don't see any other players when I'll be like, okay, with this guy, they are for sure a championship contender. The other guy that maybe could be cut from the same cloth and put the Sixers in that stratosphere would be Paul George, because there have been several reports saying that the Clippers are just tired of that bullshit that the Paul George and Kawhi have going, and that the duo has came up short a lot. So it's time to break that up. But if I'm the Clippers, I'm just not trading Paul George for James Harden straight up. I'm not doing it. I just don't see how. Like, you do not get better. The fit with Kawhi may be, better just because the Paul George and Kawhi are very similar players in spirit. So James Harden would go out there and bring more playmaking, which is something that the Clippers have lacked for a while. But first of all, the Clippers play defense as a unit, and James Harden has yet to showcase that ability on a high level. He will steal the ball, but most of the time, like, I hate when people will say the man is, stealing the ball like he's playing defense. Like, that just tells me you never play basketball. We've all had that guy on your team who will get like three, even especially at the low level. Getting steal is not that hard. You just have to read the passes. He can get damn near 4 to 5 steals a game. But the man is not playing defense. He's just bargaining every time, going for the steal or the block. But he's not, locking up. That's James Harden. So, yeah, I'm not doing this. So the Sixers will have to throw something else. I know the Sixers have a lot on their hands also because they need to trade Tobias Harris for a bag of chips or whatever he said he was worth. They need to trade him for that also. So I'm very interested in the way the 76ers actually build their roster. Quite frankly, unless James Harden ends up on a contender, which I do not see happening, I'm not really excited about his future. I'm not going to be watching because I used to love watching him in Houston, but ever since Brooklyn, it was nice in the beginning, but ever since this injuries, the man to me has become quite boring to watch. To be honest, the handle is not as smooth as he once was, and now that he can't get by people, it's just a lot of dribbling. He was always a dribbler, but he wasn't that inoffensive. In the playoffs, I felt like the man would just run out there and dribble for 18 seconds and not create nothing, no separation. Then it was just like, all right, I'm going to kick it out to PJ Tucker in the corner, or I'm going to dump it out to Joel Embiid, and you have 5 seconds to figure out something. And it's just not efficient basketball, in my opinion. So, yeah, we're going to cut the video right here. Get in the comment section and give me your thoughts about this whole thing. Do you believe the 76ers should trade James Harden or should they keep him? And where does James Harden hands up? What's the better fit? And which superstar the 76ers should target in return to actually stay in championship contention? So, yeah, it's been your boy. Appreciate you guys for checking me out, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.